Damn! Good morning, all, and welcome back. This is Arm Bushido for Dry Socks AR, and what do we have here? This is not War Thunder. You're right, it's not. Honestly, War Thunder looks a lot better. But I won't get on my soapbox this morning. Anyway, why am I here? This is World of Tanks, and why am I here? Well, for one reason, and kind of one reason only. I do like. I'll preface all this. I like playing all these games at some level, some way, but I am at heart very much a War Thunder player. I do because of I don't like the Golden BB in World of Tanks, and I definitely, probably more than anything, I don't like chunking off hit points. It just I don't know. It bothers me, but that's my opinion. Everybody has one. As we all know. But why am I here? Well, one of the things World of Tanks does that I really like is the theme tanks. And we all know it's a cash grab. Right up. It is. It is a cash grab. But at the same time, I do think it's kind of cool. And again, you don't have to buy it. Nobody's twisting your arm, whatever. And the company does have to make money, even though we all know World of Tanks probably isn't hurting. But anyway, so what do we have here with this theme tank? And this is one of the reasons why I kind of come back into World of Tanks. I hadn't played probably over in a year. I may have loaded it up, whatever. And first loading up, there's some gripes, especially when it comes to crew. But anyway, so this is the Thunderbolt VII. And this tank belonged to a man who I really admire. And that man was Colonel Abrams. At the time, Colonel, later retired General. And what was so special about Abrams? Well, looking at the tank, one, he liked to modify him. Why was that? Of course, he's a colonel of a battalion. You can probably get away with a lot, which I think there's probably some, you could talk about that all day. But he liked to modify his tank, and the one reason is because, well, he was always at the front. And that's something I really admire from a leader. He was, if you wanted to find this man, you better go to the front of the column. And he did not, in any way, remove himself from the battle. He was always up front, and even Patton himself, who considered himself to probably be one of the best, of course Patton with his ego, probably considered himself to be one of the best at tank warfare, except he has been quoted as saying he had one peer, if not better, and that was Colonel Abrams. Anyway, and if you look at what Colonel Abrams has done, of course, this is your standard, pretty much your standard EZ-8. Right here, EZ-8. If you look at this, he's basically, of course, put the front armor, put some spacing, spaced armor on the side, and then there's some spaced armor on the cheeks. However, other than that, it's pretty much an EZ-8. So before we go too deep into some comparisons here, let's just learn a little bit about the man. So, of course, he was during World War II. He was, he was a colonel, part of Patton's Third Army, and he was also the one who basically, was the first into Bastogne to relieve the 101st. So you can go read up about this, and I'll be honest, I'm a huge war buff. I read a lot of books. I have not actually sat down and read a full story about this man, which is kind of funny because I really admire him, but at the same time, one of the things I just don't read as much as I should anymore. But the funny thing about this whole story, I kind of find it interesting, is that he wore out 6 of these. Now, so there were 6 versions. Of course, number 7's sitting in front of us. He wore out 6 of them. Well, if he up-armored all 6 of those in some various ways, I can understand why. When the Sherman comes off the line, whether it's the EZ8, the M4, whatever version, it was designed to carry X amount of weight. And you start doing field modifications, then you're putting stress on this tank that wasn't supposed to be there. Now, there could be a lot of caveats with that, hey, what the average expected life rate of the tank isn't that long, so what does it matter? And there's probably a lot of truth in that, that, hey, this tank isn't expected to last very long anyway, especially your stock Sherman, and because it was really, for the Allies, it was a war of attrition. They knew if they could just keep, that's why they never went out and built, some of the, why we didn't build the T-29. One of the biggest things is weight. To the width of it. One of the big things with the Allies, if a lot of people don't know, the reason the Sherman is the way it's designed and kept the way it was, and again, it wasn't bridges. The Allies did not want to have to build bridges, and so they kept the Sherman the way it was, just because of the weight, the width, all that. That's why you did not see T-29s. You didn't see a lot of, let's pick another one here. The T-14 here, which was a combination of the British and American. It was really due to bridges. Also, it was retooling on the line. They had it set up, and they were kicking these out as fast as they could. And now that's not to say things didn't change for the Sherman, of course. Here's your stock M4 Sherman, and then by the EZ8, we had upgunned, it had the longer 76 on it, all that. But in the end, they were all still Shermans. And with that, the Thunderbolt is no different. And I do not have the Fury tank to compare to, but really, they all compare pretty well. Your damage, you're not changing your damage, you're not doing anything. The only thing that really sticks out between the two is, of course, hull armor. The front of the Thunderbolt is just incredible. However, if you look, the actual EZ8's front by paper, 76 here, 63 across the board here. However, you got to remember there is the cheek armor on the Thunderbolt. But however, the mantlet is pretty much the same. And then the other things, of course, is speed and maneuverability. You pay for that extra weight. Now, with that, so at this core, this is a premium tier 6. This is a premium tier 6 tank. I went out, and I hadn't played in a while, so I went and drove my regular EZ8, which to this day, the reason I still have it in my inventory, I loved this tank. This is a medium tank. This is not going to go toe-to-toe. You're not going to sit in the street fight with some heavy Russian tanks and some upgunned heavy Russian tanks of its tier and higher. But this tank is a great flanker. It's got speed. It's got maneuverability. Now let's go to the Thunderbolt. Honestly, you keep a lot of that speed and maneuverability. You will lose it on the uphills. I will tell you this. You will lose it on the uphills. But overall, it's still pretty. It gets up and moves around. But now you have this frontal spaced armor. So basically, this is a Tier 6 version of this. However, this, as we all know, suffers insanely from power-to-weight ratio. The power-to-weight ratio on the Super P is god-awful. And in fact, this is one of the things comparing this tank between War Thunder and World of Tanks. War Thunder's physics are a little better, and you can, when they added this weight to the front suspension, you can look at the tank in War Thunder and it pulls the front down, as it should here. But we're not going to go into that too much. But again, this tank suffers heavily from a power-to-weight ratio once all this extra armor was added on, because it was probably a little underpowered in the first place. Whereas the EZ8's motor power-to-weight ratio is great, so when they added on, when Colonel Abrams added on this extra armor, it actually didn't take that big a hit. It's there and you feel it, don't get me wrong, but it's not that bad. Now, with that, and when I go into some video gameplay here, you can't use this as a street brawler now that you have all this extra armor. It is still an easy 8 at its core. However, I can tell you, and I'm going to show some video, there is some underestimation in this tank, and you know, you might be able to put yourself into some situations you normally wouldn't with an easy 8 and be able to take a little bit more of a beating because of this extra spaced armor. Anyway, let's get moving. I probably bored you enough with statistics. Everybody can go up and look at statistics. You can do comparisons. How does this thing play? And that's what we're going to find out. I have some video of some replays I'm going to show you here on some key things that I thought was interesting and where I thought the tank really excelled, and where it actually just shows that it's still an easy 8. Anyway, let's get rolling. Let's watch some video. Okay, so this is not my first battle, but a couple battles in. I'm not used to the game again. I haven't played in a long time, so I apologize. I look really horrible. But this initial engagement, my plan was to come up off this corner. I felt that matching of this game was perfect. It's tier 6, tier 5. This would really show where this medium tank and how much this frontal armor blocked. And I wanted to get closer to this wall and angle my frontal armor. Unfortunately, I stuck my nose out too far and got tracked and didn't realize I didn't have a repair kit. My noob ass left a repair kit back in the shop there. But it does show, if you watch this, I take a tremendous beating and block almost 1,500 in damage with the frontal of this tank, which I think a normal Easy 8 would have been dead way time ago. Doing a fantastic job of blocking, and I eventually will die here because my new ass forgot the repair kit, and I am just horrible at this game. I am horrible. But I think this insinuates a little bit that maybe this tank is really good for an average player. Anyway, let's look at some more video. Okay, so the first thing you can see here in this match is that we've got a few 8s, a few 7s, but mostly 6s. But the first thing, or the next thing I want to show right here is where this tank suffers from its power to weight ratio due to the extra armor. If you watch going up this hill, my momentum drops off hard. In fact, that Achilles just outran me completely. I think this SU-100 actually beats me up the hill. As you can see, across the flat, it's pretty good. But once it hits a hill, so be very cautious about traversing hills, and if you're in trying to stay out of the combat and you start going up a hill, you could definitely get caught off guard. On the flat in the ground, it's still pretty maneuverable like in a normal Easy 8, but it definitely does not handle well going up the hill. Its power to weight rate, it just drops off hard. This next thing I'm going to show you is how good the frontal armor is. Right here, I'm actually kind of just observing the battle, and then I take a pot shot at that Cromwell, and again, I back around, and then I decide to move up and see if I can help these guys over here. And so I put my left flank off to this rock, and here in a moment, a Scorpion G, tier 8, is going to pop me in the frontal armor, and I block it. I blocked almost more than half of my hit point health here. Give it 1 second here, it's coming up. And again, I'm sitting here and observing, hoping to get some shots of these guys popping out that entryway there, but nothing ever really comes of it. I do get a lot of spot damage here. This actually has a phenomenal, really decent view range. In my mind, of course, don't have optics or anything, just normal. The view range on this thing is pretty dang good. And I guess I said that a little too soon about the Scorpion. I know he comes here soon. There it was right there. 490 blocked on that Scorpion G. That is phenomenal. I can't say that a normal Easy 8 would have just been shredded. And that right there, you know, I mean, that's over two-thirds of your hit point pool you just blocked. Anyway, let's look at some more footage and see where this tank does good and does bad. Okay, so here we are with the Easy 8 again. And this time I play a little bit more as I would consider traditional with the Easy 8. You know, again, it's a medium. It's designed to flank, outmaneuver, maybe even snipe a little bit. You know, and stay out of harm's way as much as possible. You know, in some ways it's kind of a little bit of a bottom feeder, you know. I hate to say it, but this is a tank that's designed because it's still got the same gun, still the same everything. And there it blocks the shot from the Cromwell. And I don't block a lot of damage in this round because again I played a little more cautious. Just play it like I normally would with my other Easy 8. But it does show here in a minute how a Soviet Heavy will still eat your lunch. That armor to the front is good, but it's not that good. And if I was to play this tank, I would not play it any different than you'd play your normal Easy 8. So anyway, like I said, so I decided to just kind of stay back a little bit more, do some, you know, do a little bit of distance shooting and, you know, stay out, don't get spotted. Don't try to play the tank just because you got this extra armor, try to muscle into things, that type of stuff. And at this moment, I kind of, you know, I've got my front armor facing that way, and I start focusing on that Type 58, or is it, there's a T-34, no, it's a Type 58 out at the distance, and I'll get popped here in a minute by the KV-2, and it hurts. Again, you're still Tier 6, you got 750 hit points, and the Soviet heavy guns will generally tick off about half your health if they hit you. So it's very, very, it's still the same tank as it is in Tier 6. It's nothing special. See right there, look at that KV-2 just did to me. He just wrecked my world. And I even had, you know, I had my hull to his front. I'm not sure exactly where he clipped me, but it shows that you still got to play very cautious, especially around the Soviet heavies, because you're just going to get, they hit you, they're going to chew you in half. So again, this is not just because of the extra armor, I guess what I'm trying to get at, it's not a frontline pusher. It's still the same tank as it was. It's just that at some point, if you get caught in a position where you might have to go toe-to-toe, you might could pull it off. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, in the previous one where I blocked the shot from the Scorpion G, that was an incredible block. But it's again, and I say this over and over, it's still an Easy 8. That's all it is. And so, with that being said, you know, again, you need to play it as you would play your regular Easy 8. Your damage is still the same, your pen is still the same, all that is just still the same. And with that, though, you do get, you know, I mean, a phenomenal reload time, rate of fire, you know. So, and right here, just what as I was playing, I was noticing, you know, there's a little bit of a slope here. And I was saying that how the Thunderbolt, because of the extra weight, loses a lot of its power to weight ratio, but I was actually impressed with how fast I could reverse back up the hill to start, and you'll see when I take out this T-34-85, you know, and again, this slope is not that great, but still, it was actually very responsive in the sense of reversing back up that hill. It went a lot better than I thought it was going to. But here in a moment, I will, and I'll sit here and play with it a little bit, kind of getting a feel for it, going, yeah, this is not bad at all, not bad at all. And then I finally decide to, okay, the round, well, pretty much I think we got this under hand. So I reverse up the slope, just seeing what can it do going back up the slope. And again, I'm actually kind of impressed. I was actually, granted this is not the steepest grade in the game by no means, and you'll see here in a minute I'm going to break down this hill, and I'm actually, I'm going to go down the hill and back up this little incline here, and you'll see the drop off really quick. Where I felt, the regular Easy 8 would actually get up this a lot better, and there she goes. The drop off is really fast. Again, that extra armor comes at a cost. But if you're a fan, in which I am, I'm actually a fan of the Sherman tank. I know it gets a lot of bad rap, through history, but I think some of it is unfounded. It had a lot of pluses. And again, you hear, the stories from, tanker crews, which first-hand experience is everything. But though a lot of the other pluses is it was very reliable. It was easy to maintain. And it was very quick. It was responsive. And in the right hands with the right crew, was actually a pretty deadly weapon, especially by the time you do get to the Easy 8 version, where now you're starting to get a gun that can pen through things. So again, another premium tank, and again, I call these the themed premium tanks. And again, I picked it up. I hadn't played World of Tanks, and I said, I'm a big fan of the tank, or of what Colonel Abrams and General Abrams later did, and his forethoughts and his armor tactics. And so I said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to review this premium. So here we are, the premium Tier 6 Thunderbolt VII themed tank, as I call them. I guess the ultimate question is this worth your hard-earned cash? Well, I think that depends on the person and what you're trying to achieve. If you're a new player, I think there's better ways to spend your money. Even if you're just buying if you're looking to grind money, Tier 6 is not the place. I know around Tier 5, Tier 6, the game starts to weigh on you, but if you're going to spend the money, and I know a lot of people are going to say, buy a premium Tier 8. Spend the money, buy a premium Tier 8. And I've been away the game for a while, so I cannot say, honestly, which would be the best for that. Back when I was playing heavily, the IS-6 was probably a good bang for the buck for making money. I've ground a lot of money with this tank. It was a phenomenal tank at the time. At this point, I'm not exactly 100% sure which is the optimal premium tank right now for grinding money, but it's definitely got to be in Tier 8. I would not invest, $20 for something, that you're not gonna get the value out of it at Tier 6 for grinding money, especially if you're new to the game. Now, as far as veterans go and experienced players, that's where it gets kind of tricky. At this point, being a veteran player, you're probably not worried about money. You're probably buying this because either A, you like it, you love the maybe the American medium line, you like the themed tanks, so you're kind of falling into where you don't buy every tank, you buy specific ones, and you're really like that. Or you are like a lot are the ultimate collector, and that's probably where this falls more than anything, in my mind, especially the themed ones, is that you've bought every other premium, why stop now? But as far as a tank that's going to earn you cash, no, this would not be it. This is not the tank to be kidding. This tank here is designed, again, is this a cash grab for war game? Of course it is. It's a cash grab. Any of these vehicles is a cash grab. I mean, and it doesn't matter what game it is. It's all a cash grab because that's their goal, is to make money. I mean, if you haven't realized that by now, you got a lot of other problems. Yeah, this is ultimately, yeah, all these are designed to get, to grab cash. What's the other tank that popped up just recently? I think the Panzer III-K. I actually had to go look that up and go, oh my God, there was a K variant. It was a command variant that actually had a decent gun, but there was like 50 of them made. But anyway, maybe I'll do something on that. I don't know. And maybe I'll try out the IS-6 and do a little, see how well it does, and maybe do some videos on that. But at the end of the day, this tank, yeah, this is not the tank for somebody who's looking to go get a premium to make money. This is not what it's for. I'm not saying it's a bad tank. Actually, I kind of I played, the matches I've shown you, I've kind of cherry picked. And honestly, I haven't played in a while. And honestly, I'm not that good at this game overall. It's not my play style, and I'm just not that good. There are far others that smoke me, and most of you will listen to this video would beat me hands down. But at the end of the day, I did enjoy this tank. It was actually kind of nice. But I still come back to the ultimate thing. This is nothing more than an Easy 8 with a little extra armor. And so you should still play it as an Easy 8. It's just that I feel that if you do make a mistake with it, that you might survive where the normal Easy 8 may not. Other than that, damage, all that, and then of course the drawbacks is, you're losing some of the mobility a little bit, especially again on the uphills. But at the end of the day, I do kind of, I actually do like wargaming doing these themed vehicles. And I could go into all day about themed vehicles and paper tanks. I know a lot of people don't like the paper tanks. And of course, this is not a paper tank at any rate. This was actually a real vehicle. But at the end of the day, it's kind of cool sometimes to see what this vehicle that, it was drawn on a napkin. And I swear Wargaming can find that napkin somewhere. See what it might have been envisioned like. Yeah, we don't know how it would have performed. We have no idea. All they can do is speculate based on what the thought process was and what the tech was at the time. But anyway, back on track. Again, good, bad. It's a premium themed tank. Take it for what it is. This is not. It's not overpowered in any way. It's not going to make you rich. It's just going to look cool in your garage. At the end of the day, that's really what it boils down to. It's just going to look really cool in your garage. Anyway, you know what? I think I'm going to cut this because I want to go out and do some more playing, and I've been kind of recording all day building this out. Anyway, this is Arm Bushido for Dry Sucks AR. Hey, give me your thoughts down below. Give me thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. And I'll catch you on the flip side.